Sure.
Hello and welcome back to Hill and Ponton's live question and answer session. I am attorney Allison Reddick and I am here back with accredited claims agent, Marine veteran extraordinaire, Carrie Baker. How are you doing?
Good, Allison. How you doing? I ain't
I'm
been with
good.
you in a while.
Yeah, ready to answer some questions. Let's hop into it. Okay, I will start. Um, AWQQ5EE. My disabled vet husband was just finally approved for SMCT. Great job. It was a long fight, but absolutely earned. I am my husband's caregiver 24/7. It is unsafe to leave him alone due to TBI residuals. We were just denied for our application to the caregiver program on the basis my husband is fine on his own. How would you recommend we proceed with challenging this denial? Caregiver is a mess. I think they have not changed the regulation yet, though there had been a period where they're reviewing and they're going to change it, hopefully to make it less stringent. But I don't think that they have done that yet. Do you know, Carrie?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think there's been any recent changes to it. Yeah, that, I mean, your SMCT, they should not be denying you for one. I'd start with a local appeal on something like that and make sure that the folks at the medical center know your rating. Because yeah, that's just terrible.
Yeah, I would try a high level review through the health administration and point out to them when you have the conference that you are rated at SMCT and that your wife is the caregiver. Also, look for the denial in your VAMC records. I would go through and like control find caregiver, and it will explain why they denied it. Most likely they denied it because maybe he doesn't need assistance with at least one ADL, activity of daily living, every time. But for the SMCT, if it's a issue with safety and protecting from hazards, that is enough to at least get level 1. If he can't be left alone, that sounds like level 2. So you can try higher level review, or you could even go supplemental if you have a provider who will give you a document saying, I cannot leave my husband alone because it's a safety concern and he is not able to self-sustain in society without me. That's like the key phrase that they're looking for level 2 is being able to self-sustain in society. So caregiver is a mess and it's going to be a mess for a while. Hopefully they come out sometime with less stringent requirements, but right now it's really, really, really hard to qualify for, but you definitely qualify for it and you should have it, especially if you have SMCT.
Yeah, and one problem too is the sheer number of VA medical centers that are out there, and they're all doing SMCT, or I'm sorry, caregiver on their own. So you're gonna, what you get in one place is completely different from what you're going to get in another. And keep in mind, you can appeal to the Board of Veterans Appeals now. So if they don't play ball at the local level, I would absolutely eventually prepare to appeal to the board. And Allison, you mentioned one thing that we've had luck with, so that it sounds like you may have too. The part about needing a certain type of care on a certain function every single time that function is done, that is not in the statute. And so that requirement, we've argued to the board that exceeds statutory authority. You can't write a regulation that does that. And the board has agreed with us and remanded because of that on some cases. So just something to keep in mind. All right. Eddie JF J7F. One, when filling out personal statement for supplemental wrongly denied 20 years ago. Personal statement for supplemental wrongly denied 20 years ago. Didn't know what I was doing. Bad VSO. Do I point out all the errors made in the denial? Everything from the CMP examiner, BDD, claim before discharge, not given STRs, crucial knee x-ray, not included in decision to deny knees, paratrooper 4 years, permanent profile last 2 years, examiner lied and didn't document symptoms, or use goinometer, have new DBQ nexus filled out by my VA PCP with new images showing same arthritis that active duty x-ray showed. CMP exam taken 6 months later with exam was not read correctly once. OA on x-ray. It doesn't disappear, get better. Specifically talking about knees, but if this is the strategy I should use for a few other claims that were also denied that I'm going to that I'm also doing supplemental for. All right, so there's a whole lot there. It does, in my opinion, it does not hurt. You know, if you're going to really prep your case, it sounds like you got a pretty strong case for your knees. You know, you can point out all of that stuff. At the end of the day, the supplemental claim is still going to require new and relevant evidence that was not there during the first claim. So you're going to have to, you know, sounds like you may have that already. And that's a really low bar. It's not hard. Almost any new evidence is going to be new and relevant evidence, which means they'll have to reopen the case and develop it all the way. I can't recall every one of those things you rattled off there. You know, if they didn't have your service, excuse me, if they didn't have your service records, yeah, I'd make sure they have those now, because that's going to affect a possible earlier effective date. Same thing with arthritis. Something you said there. If you had X-ray evidence of arthritis during active duty, okay, then it sounds like that denial you had 20 years ago was an unlawful denial, because arthritis is in the 1-year presumptive list under 3.309A for any disability in that list that's diagnosed on, during, or within 1 year of active duty. So if you had that documented and they denied that, you may have more than just a reopened claim. But the important thing is make sure they have the current service records and the current DBQ, and you should be good to go. Because like I said, they're going to have to develop that case anyway and look at those service records. So it sounds like you have a really strong case. Anything there, Allison?
Sounds good. Tim Heiserick, 7697. In 2001, I was granted 10% disability for lower back pain, but left knee pain was denied. No findings on x-rays. Recently, I was diagnosed with flat feet, which may relate to my back issues. No flat feet on entry physical STRs or medical records till now. However, I do have 2 documented instances of plantar fasciitis in service, both during high physical activity. Would I file flat feet as a new claim or in a supplemental claim for left knee, arguing both conditions secondary to my service-connected back? Thanks for all that you do. Well, if you've never claimed flat feet, then it would have to be a 526 EZ, a new claim, regardless of if you're filing it secondary to the back or not. And then the knee would be a supplemental claim because you've been previously denied for it, but you need some type of new and relevant evidence for it. I have always had the understanding that disabilities can affect from the feet up, but I didn't know that it could affect from the back to the feet. Like I thought the feet could affect the back because it disrupts your gait and that can make a back condition, but can a back condition cause a foot condition?
Yeah, I don't know, that's a case by case analysis, I think. I mean, those are hard. You can, I mean, VA examiners all day are probably going to give negative opinions on that. If your back's to the point where it's causing you to put all your weight on one leg just to keep the back from hurting a certain way, I can see that. But yeah, it is a little more difficult, I think, Allison, to do that.
If you had plantar fasciitis in service, then you could try for direct service connection, but you would still need to show continuity of care that you've had issues with your feet over the years and then you recently got this new diagnosis. I would say more likely you would be able to get direct than secondary.
Yeah. Yeah, and then you've got the feet possibly as an aggravating factor for the other stuff. All right. Leander, all right. I'm not going to say that because I'm going to mess that name up. Hello, just got 100% PNT. It's not what I expected to get for Tara for heart 60 and sleep apnea 50, but they should have gone back 14 months on the date. Should I do a car? Not sure what to do. About the, I'm guessing, effective date. Any advice? Don't want to poke the bear. Will it change anything on the rating? Thanks for everything you do. Okay, first, it should not. I don't know that I would do a car. You could maybe just an HLR with a conference on something like that, because it's not. I don't see enough there personally to say it's so simple that a car would be the best way to go. It may be, but without knowing the facts, it's kind of hard to say. If you filed a claim 14 months ago, sounds like they may have given you an effective date, the date of the exam, which VA is notorious for these days. That's wrong almost every time. That's an incorrect, what they call factual finding, effective date based on factual findings. That's not how you apply factual findings, but it should be the date of the claim. So, I think you could easily talk to a DRO and tell them, hey, look, I filed my claim on this date. They gave me an exam. Here I am. They didn't take my rating back to the date I filed the claim. I don't think you are in any danger of losing anything if all you appeal is the effective date. Then the DRO should be prohibited from doing anything detrimental to your rating short of clear and unmistakable error, which is very rare. So I would say 99% of the time, you're probably safe in just going for an earlier effective date.
I agree. I would do the higher level review with the conference so you can actually talk to someone. CAR is very specific and it has to be within 1 month of the denial. Lisa Marshall 5989. Is the VA considering no longer accepting private DBQs and potentially not using DBQs at all? This would mean almost certainly requiring CMP to rate your conditions, right? Any truth to this? Thanks so much for taking our questions. Your advice and guidance are appreciated. I have not heard anything about taking away DBQs. You may know more about that.
No, I haven't heard anything about that. It sounds like one of the rumor mills floating around out there. Certainly not internal DBQs, because that's the only way VA is equipped right now to rate these conditions. As far as private DBQs, they do scrutinize them a little more, only because they've had people kind of they want to make sure that the doctor that's filling out the DBQ one is an actual doctor and they're qualified to do so and all that. They want to make sure the vet's not filling it out themselves. But as far as them going anywhere, no, I don't think they're going anywhere. In fact, I still see them in the development letters sometimes asking a vet if they can get a DBQ from their doctor. So, and if they were going to do that, that would be an internal policy shift. I mean, there's no regulation that requires a DBQ versus an old type CMP examination. That's not the way VA is moving. They're moving towards automated stuff. And you can't do that with the old type of examination where it's all summary and the rater has to dig into it and try to figure out what the examiner's saying. So if anything, I would think they would double down on the type of DBQs to be more in line on kind of the automated versions that they would like to have. So I don't see that going anywhere.
Yeah, and with the private DBQs, I always argue this is either a specialist that treats the veteran or someone who has history with the veteran versus someone who saw them once and who either does not have any experience in that area. I continue to use private DBQs and argue them and have been successful. So maybe, like Carrie said, that was just a rumor that has been out and about, but as of now, we have not heard anything about that. And if we hear anything different, we will let you know.
All right, the veteran's aid, one of two. If a veteran has SMCL for mental health, parentheses 50%, due to the need for medication management, is there any benefit in submitting an additional A&A form to address the second need for A&A due to the inability to dress themselves because of an orthopedic condition, 20%, that prevents them from using their hands effectively for tying shoes, buttoning clothes, etc. All right, so going back to that first one, you got a couple things in there that throw me off. I'm not sure if you're saying the veteran's mental health is rated 50% and they're getting SMCL for that.
I think that's just one rating that they have, and they probably, yeah.
Yeah, because I can't see somebody rated 50% for mental health and getting L just for that one condition. If they do have it, it's pretty good. I wouldn't mess with that. But to answer your question in more general terms, yes, you can have more than one condition causing the need for A&A. They just cannot overlap, right? So an example would be, this is not all A&A, but let's just say a veteran has loss of use of both legs. That's going to get them SMCL on a statutory rate. Well, let's say the veteran also says, well, I need help because of my legs for activities of daily living. They're not also going to give them A&A due to the legs, even though he might truly need A&A due to the legs. That's because SMCL is the same as A&A. That's what the A&A pays at. So you're not going to duplicate it like that. But if you have a mental health condition, like you're talking about, that is severe enough to require A&A, and you have other conditions apart from the mental health, like orthopedic or cardiovascular, or you name it, that independently requires A&A, then yes, you can get 2 rates of A&A, and that is 2 L's, and then that would get you to SMC O. Any 2 rates between L and N get you to O. And if you're at O and you need A&A, which here A&A would have got you to O, you go straight to R1. So now it sounds like you're saying that 20%, if that's the only thing the orthopedic is rated at 20%, I think you're going to have a hard time with that, but I might be misreading that. So, but if orthopedic prevents you from tying your shoes, buttoning clothing, dressing yourself, all that stuff, there's potential for A&A there based on that.
I agree. User, lots of letters, numbers. Submitting an AOD to the Board of Veterans Appeals. What's the best way to submit it? My daughter was hit by a driver that was impaired, DUI with limited insurance coverage, and he was the at fault. I plan on submitting financial hardship since the accident was not caused by my daughter, yet my family is now responsible for medical expenses. The strain has created a hardship that directly affects my stability and well-being as the veteran. I just did a memo and included the police report photos of the accident scene and vehicle damage. Hopefully it gets approved. I mean, you can try. Normally for advancement on the docket at the board for financial distress, it has to be like you are behind on like your utilities or your mortgage or your house is going to be foreclosed. It's severe to the point where you can't meet your needs for your, you can't meet your daily needs. You can try. The worst that they're going to do is say no, but I don't know if that's severe enough to meet the requirements for a financial burden.
Yeah, I'm with you, Allison. I think it definitely could be. You certainly sound like you have enough evidence there to show the what happened. If you can just show that that event and those series of events has caused the financial hardship that Allison's talking about, yeah, I would certainly give it a shot. All right. Cardinal Blevins. You guys have some names on here. Part 1, I filed for my FOIA in November 24 and still haven't received it. I'll call the VA and they said it's still being processed. What can I do? I just want the C&P exam and they will not give it to me or email it to me. You know, you're talking about an age-old problem here. I've seen FOIAs take 6 months. I've literally seen them take 6 years. I had a case at the board, still got the case at the board, trying to get it, a decision made on it. Don't know why they haven't made a decision on it. And for some reason, they picked up a FOIA that was 13 years old and they gave us that, but they still haven't made a decision on it. You know, what you're trying to get is obviously not difficult to get in some circumstances. If you have a representative, even if it's a VSO, that's usually the easiest way to do that because they can get access in a VBMS and just download that C&P for you and give you a copy of it. If you're doing this completely on your own and you have no access to VBMS, which is their system, yeah, you pretty much have to rely on FOIA as far as I'm aware. It sounds like you're doing everything that you can do in that respect. It's not uncommon for them to take, a long time on that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I would go to a VSO and get them to download it for you. I think that would be the quickest way to get it.
Yeah.
Okay, another user. What does it mean if the VA schedule you for another C&P for the same thing twice in 2 months? I don't know what it means. I guess
You're dealing with VA.
right? Yeah, it can be many things. It could be that they need a clarification. I don't know why they do the things that they do, but they do them. Do you have any more insight on that?
Well, I mean, you're right. They could have asked. For a certain question to be answered, and that question didn't get answered, and they're sending it back. The examiner could have filled out the DBQ wrong, or in some way that it was internally in conflict with itself. We see that all the time. It could be anything that rater is looking at that C&P exam and going, "No, I'm confused." And sometimes they get confused a little easy, and then they request a clarification. Sometimes they bring you back in for the exam for that clarification. Sometimes they do it without you. Without seeing the request for the subsequent exam, there's really no way to know. And if you do have a rep and they have access to the system, they can download that request, and it usually will give you some bit of information as to why they're wanting another one. But you do need to go to it if they call you in for it. You don't want to be a no-show. All right, St. Andrews 318, easy one. Can you have chronic fatigue syndrome and a sleep condition like sleep apnea or narcolepsy at the same time? Or will they deny your chronic fatigue syndrome because of a sleep condition? Very good question. So there's some thought process out there when it comes to Gulf War type issues, and it's chronic fatigue syndrome is a Gulf War presumptive. This may not be related to Gulf War. I'm just making an assumption there. But for things like chronic fatigue and to some extent irritable bowel, and what's the other one? It's escaping me at the moment.
Fibromyalgia.
Fibromyalgia. Chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. What I've seen many of examiners do is come out and say, well, the vet's got a mental health disability, so he can't have chronic fatigue syndrome, or he's got arthritis in his spine, so he can't have fibromyalgia. And that is absolutely patently false. Okay, you could have two conditions at the same time. So if they deny it on that basis, I would absolutely appeal it. Because one does not preclude the other. And for things like chronic fatigue, if you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, part of the criteria for diagnosing that could be sleep and sleep-related issues. So it's, that's just one of many. So don't take that, just take that for what it's worth. But no, they're not supposed to deny one because you have the other. You can have two things at once. So that's it.
Another step 25 is the VA considering no longer accepting private DBQs and potentially not using DBQs at all. This would mean, wait, we already did this one, didn't we? Yeah, we already did this one.
Yeah.
Yes, we did this one. Okay, Lonnie Brinson. Have the regional office implemented the Berry v. McDonough regulations into the 38 CFR or M21-1 yet? I'm still waiting on BVA hearing appeal with waived hearing. Are you guys seeing movement in the BVA hearing lane yet? Not really. I haven't really seen too much movement in the hearing lane. I've seen a lot of movement in evidence lane, less movement in direct, but still some of non-AOD cases. They seem to have gotten caught up with the direct lane cases. In evidence lane, they're getting caught up. I think they're into 2024. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't checked it in a few weeks, but I haven't really seen movement in the hearing lane, and they should be implementing Berry. I don't know if they are. Have you seen any movement or implementation of Berry?
Yes, they are doing Berry cases. I believe those are centralized in the Seattle regional office. I think it's Seattle. There's a chance I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's the one. So somebody, and that means somebody locally has to recognize it as a Berry case and then refer it to the centralized processing station that's doing all Berry cases. So I've had a couple of DRO hearings where Berry was at issue and the DRO was not at that centralized processing station. And once they realized it was involved Berry, they had to stop the conference, refer the case to that station, and have another conference. So it's not a model for efficiency at all, but they are doing them. Now it's not in a regulation, and it probably won't be, It could be, but that's doubtful. I don't know if they've like officially updated per se their M21, but I know they've updated the field about Barry, and that's why they've centralized them. Yeah, I wouldn't ask for a hearing, by the way. Just wouldn't take too long. Eddie, any word on if mental health changes are going to happen in December still? Your thoughts on the chances, good or bad, for veterans? I have not heard about mental health changes in December at all, or any mental health changes. So no, that is, to my knowledge, that is not on the radar, especially for December. Now they are generally always reviewing the rating schedule for updates. But I don't think the mental health criteria is on any immediate radar right now.
No, yeah, I haven't heard anything, and it definitely would not be December.
Yeah, so I think you're good there.
Okay, Gerald Keith, 1459. Hello, thanks for all that you do. I retired with 24 years in the Army National Guard. I have 10% tinnitus, 0% hearing loss, 30% coronary artery disease, 0% hypertension, 0% erectile dysfunction, SMCK, loss of use of creative organ. I am in appeal for my back. I have a nexus for the back. Can I file sleep apnea secondary to tinnitus or hypertension? You can. What were the other issues? I would say, have I seen... Okay, there are multiple ways you could go for sleep apnea secondary to one of your service-connected conditions. You could, hypertension, I haven't really done that one myself. Tinnitus, more difficult, but it's possible. Coronary artery disease, does it affect your ability to exercise? Have you gained a lot of weight because of it and you're obese now, and you could use obesity as an intermediate step, that because of your heart disease, it made you gain weight and you developed the sleep apnea? Or same thing with the back. Did it affect your ability to exercise and you gained a lot of weight and that led to the sleep apnea? Those are the ways I could potentially see getting sleep apnea secondary. What do you think, Carrie?
Yeah, I agree completely with you. For the hypertension, here's the thing. Sleep apnea causes hypertension, or it can, most certainly, and other cardiovascular conditions, because it puts more strain on the cardiovascular system while you're undergoing sleep apnea. It's usually not the other way around. Now, having said that, I can recall one case where sleep apnea was granted because it was aggravated by hypertension. Now, I am surprised that case got granted, I'll be honest, because it's almost always the other way around. So one thing I would look at is, since you're already service connected for hypertension, what's the possibility that you had the sleep apnea already in service that led to the hypertension, and then the sleep apnea just went undiagnosed? That's, or is, are you a Vietnam vet and the hypertension related to herbicides or something? Tinnitus, I've seen that. It's rare, but it's not as rare as hypertension, I would say. Other than that, if you have a way to tie the weight in, like Allison said, that's sometimes a better deal. They're hard to get service connected for in some cases. It's just all there is to it.
Yeah, going off of that, seeing the timeline, did you have issues with snoring and things like that in service? Because sleep apnea can cause hypertension. It can also cause coronary artery disease, which you have, and it can also cause diabetes. So it's what came first, like Carrie said, but multiple different options to try to get it service connected.
Jesse Gardner, initial rater denied with all available evidence. Are they allowed to pick and choose what to deny? Yeah. I mean, we're talking about initial raters here, and they do some funky things these days. I mean, they are supposed to take each issue and apply the facts to the law, or apply the law to the facts, and make the decision. But yeah, I don't know really how to answer the question. They look at each issue individually. So yeah, they can grant some and deny others. And
What drives me crazy is when they do a C&P medical opinion and they include all the issues on one medical opinion and they deny all of them and they give the exact same rationale for all of them, where I'm just immediately like, okay, you did not actually review this and you kind of just copped out and denied everything. But yeah, I mean, it's really up to their discretion. It's initial rater. I don't really know what their qualifications are or what kind of experience they have. And if you feel like you had evidence, it's always an option to go into the higher level review and talk with someone who's a little higher up. I have pretty good success in the higher level review. It's hit or miss, but it's a lot faster than going to the board.
yeah, same here.
Okay, Steady Betty 2548. Do you have to apply for SMCT or does the VA know you need and qualify for it with 100% combined and TBI? The VA should they know things all the time? Yeah, absolutely. Is SMC something that should be inferred? Yes, absolutely. But rarely do they ever infer it as like an additional benefit. So I would specifically apply on a 526 special monthly compensation SMCT due to the TBI.
Yeah, same here. They are supposed, it's not supposed to be a separate, but if they don't see the qualification for it, they're not going to apply it.
And like that's the highest one you can get. Very rarely are they going to infer that because that's a lot of money on the table and it's, difficult to qualify for. So you're most likely going to have to point it out to them.
Yeah. Now, if you can appeal a rating, like if you say you got 100%, like they gave you SMCL or something, you can appeal that rather than file a new claim, and just appeal for a higher level of SMC. That may make it a little bit easier, just to, but yeah, I don't think I've ever seen them do it on their own on a single case. Yeah.
Or even if your TBI ratings on appeal that for failure to consider entitlement to special monthly compensation and see if they'll open it that way too.
And remember, I always suggest file for aid and attendance. Okay. If you're not getting it, and I can't tell by what you put there if you're getting it, because if you can't get regular aid and attendance, you are not going to get SMCT. And if you get regular aid and attendance, well, then you have a better shot of taking that up to SMCT.
Absolutely.
George, dog. I probably messed that up. Current sleep apnea and HAD.
Had mandible retraction surgery.
OSA. Okay. Current OSA. So I'm from Kentucky.
I was like, what is that acronym?
Don't challenge me on those things. Current OSA and had mandible retraction surgery in service and strong IMO from oral surgeon. That surgery is noted in VA training as valid cause of OSA. Was denied due to TERA. I'm not surprised. Appeal pointed out unrelated SC to TERA. Appeal denied due to lack of strong IMO. Well, okay, first you have a strong case there. I would go straight to the Board of Veterans. Personally, I would go straight to the Board of Veterans Appeals in the direct review lane if all of that is already of record. I mean, yeah, that should have been a grant. and shame on VA for denying it. That just, you clearly got a series of less than adequate raters and DROs on that. And we see the Terra interrupt otherwise unrelated things all the time. It can be a knee condition, and the first thing they'll do is get a Terra medical opinion when that's not the basis of the claim at all. And then they stop right there and deny it because of, no Terra. It's like, give me a break. And you have to go back and fix it from the beginning. So, but yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Like Tara has brought a lot of good positive things, but it has also brought a lot of interruption into the claims process for non-Tara conditions. I've never heard of a Tara causing a knee condition. Maybe somewhere, but I've never seen it. But for this, that's probably exactly what happened, is that they only considered the Tara and did not consider direct service connection at all. Or sorry, secondary service connection or whatever it was. So you can go to the board or you can try higher level review, either one.
Yeah, I took it that they went higher level review and they said appeal denied, but I might be, yeah, if you hadn't gone higher level review, I agree, I would do that first.
Okay, let's see. City Nights. Thank you, Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, for your sacrifice and praying for a quick recovery. Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. How should my friend who is a physical therapist write a buddy letter? I was not a patient of my friend, but she noticed my pain and discomfort with my ankles and periodically would give me exercises to help with my discomfort. I mean, I would write it just like that. In her medical opinion, due to her experience as a physical therapist, regardless of if she's your friend or not, she has the medical background to be able to provide an opinion and state how she noticed, the pain and discomfort with your ankles. But how are you connecting it? Did you have an injury in service? Is it wear and tear? Is it because of your duties? You have to include that nexus. So you have to connect it to something in service. So the physical therapist has the diagnosis, but then they need somehow to connect it to service. So you would need more information on that. But I mean, to me, it doesn't really matter that it's their friend if they're providing their medical opinion. I mean, I've had clients who their wife was a nurse and helped take care of them. And I mean, they didn't provide a nexus opinion, but they provided significant evidence for their symptoms and such. What do you think, Carrie?
I agree. I don't think I have anything else to add to that. Jesse Gardner. Okay, do we do this one? This doesn't seem to be getting in here right. I had a denied claim, submitted a FOIA for VA records, found a positive nexus, but still denied. Should a HLR find the positive nexus and agree?
Yes.
Yeah, they might. Yeah, I would do that first.
Yeah, I've seen that not frequently, but every 20 cases or so, I'll see where there's a positive nexus in there and the rater just missed it, and I'll do a higher level review and they'll grant it. Unless there's some reason why they didn't grant it, maybe in the higher level review, they could give you more information on that. But yeah, in that situation, I have done higher level review.
Yeah, what I see a lot too is if the original rater has to read more than a sentence to get to the positive opinion, they just stop reading. Because I've, a lot of opinions I've seen, the examiner might say, well, condition A is not related to condition B. And so it sounds like a negative opinion, but then they go on to explain it is related to this other stuff, which may be service connected or from service, but they don't read that far.
Yeah.
And you just have a rating decision that just cites the negative part of the opinion. Yeah. And you know that the rater just they read the first sentence and stopped.
And they do write it confusing sometimes. So yeah, it'll start negative and then you get to the last sentence and they're like, but actually it is at least as likely as not. So that absolutely could be the situation. Okay, we have time for one more because I have conferences. So let's see what our last question is. Angel Marrero 743, greetings. A vet with 2 private DBQs and IMOs for PTSD, a caregiver statement, and a 2680 from their VA primary care physician with 3 ADLs checked. Strong enough for a grant of SMCL. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, okay, so with SMCL, you have to make sure that you're putting service connected conditions on the form for the diagnosis section, because I'll see denials where they'll put, you're service connected for, let's say, your heart and your PTSD, but you're not service connected for COPD. And then they'll deny it because they'll say, oh, well, you need help because of the COPD. I would make sure that the diagnoses that are listed are service connected issues. I'm assuming it's for the PTSD. And first you would need to get the PTSD service connected if it's not, and then file the 2680 as to how the PTSD or whatever service connected conditions affect the activities of daily living.
I couldn't agree more, but yeah, that should be enough.
Okay, well, it's been real. It's been fun. I always appreciate doing this with you, and we will be back soon with more question answering. And if we hear any updates about any of the questions like Barry or mental health rating criteria or getting rid of DBQs, we will always let you know. But thank you for your time. Thank you for your service, and have a good rest of your day.
Hey, Allison, somebody is asking if I can stay if you have to go. I guess that's up to the video folks. I suppose I could stay for another 12 minutes, and that's about it.
I don't know if they can exit me out
I don't know either.
and
Yeah.
keep you in.
Well, oh, okay. I guess they did. All right, you got me. So that was a last minute second decision there. So if I am still in, I'll take a question. There we go. Happiness 4730. I have tried to nudge the caregiver supplemental claim. I have tried to nudge the caregiver supplemental claim turned in December 24, starting December 23, with 10110s stating hubby is 180%, applying for SMCT, no budge. Keep telling them to make a decision or what? It sounds like, if I'm interpreting that correctly, the caregiver claim might not be decided yet. If that's the case, yeah, I would, if you turned it in and, well, a year ago now, I would definitely take a trip down to the medical center and find out what's keeping them so long, and find out if all of them in that area are taking that long or not. As far as, he's not 180%, so you don't want to look at it that way. If you're just adding everything up, that's not, that's not what you want to do. But the fact that he's applying for T, if he gets T, well, then that's going to help with the caregiver, I would think. But just the fact that he might have some qualifications for T should help you with the caregiver stuff. And the fact that he's clearly over 100% sounds like that should help as well. But yeah, I would go down there and find out why it's taking so long, or all of them taking that long. If they all are, well, then there's probably your answer. You're in the queue waiting to be decided. But if they're taking 6 months and yours is at 1 year, then yeah, I'd want to find out why. All right. Trek and Ramble. Rated 100% scheduler, not PNT, although all my service connected conditions are static. I have no routine future exams. What should I do? Okay, so one, are you sure you're not PNT? typically, if you have no more routine future exams and you're sure about that, in other words, you looked at your code sheets and in the spot that they list routine future exams, it's marked none. It could have been a situation where they just failed to put the right wording on the cover letter in the rating decision. Normally, that wording is simply entitlement to Chapter 35 dependents educational assistance. So if your paperwork has that on it, then you are PNT, because they only put that on there when you're PNT. If they just forgot to put that on there, but you otherwise have no routine future exams, then it could be just that. They forgot to list that you are entitled to Chapter 35. So it sounds like it's one of those two issues. So I would focus on that. And if you have no routine futures, you could always apply for the Chapter 35. If you have a way to apply, and then that might force them. But otherwise, you could probably go back with an HLR, the easiest way, and say, look, you guys have me as PNT, but you didn't put Chapter 35 on my rating, and that's usually just a quick admin fix if that's what it is. So hopefully that helps. Sandrab 1694. Hello, if you submit official SMRs that existed but were not previously associated with the denied NOD and the VA continues to reopen claim under the AMA, does this invalidate 3.156C earlier effective date? No, it does not. The fact that the claim came in after February of 2019, assuming it did, that makes it AMA. There's nothing you can do about that. But AMA does not invalidate new and material evidence based on service records that would force VA to reconsider an older decision. If they fail to do that, you simply appeal it like you would appeal anything else, and argue that that you submitted new service records that VA didn't have previously. The 3.156 is applicable to those service records, and they need to reconsider their prior decision, even if the prior decision takes them into the legacy world prior to 2019. It doesn't matter. So hopefully that helps. Felton Moore. Can you work if you're 100% PNT for PTSD? Okay, good question. Okay, so if you are 100% scheduler, sounds like that's what this person might be, there's no prohibition against working. Now, if you are getting 100% based on unemployability, there absolutely is a prohibition against working. But keep something in mind. When it comes to mental health specifically, the first rating criteria for 100%, and I'm quoting, is total occupational and social impairment. And then it lists all the symptoms that could cause that. So they're rating you 100% based on the assumption that you have total occupational and social impairment. Or they care about the social impairment. The key word there is total occupational impairment. So, are they going to call you back in for another exam? Well, no. But if for any reason they did, and you're working and they see that you're 100% for mental health, that's going to raise some questions. Is it unlawful? No. But could it prompt them to set up a future exam? Sure, it could. Generally, I think you're safe. Okay. But just know that that's the rating criteria. And so if somebody is going and trying to get 100% PNT for mental health and they're working, odds are they're not going to get it. All right. So just food for thought there. All right. Michelle Finn. Hello, I am SMC N.5 with no A&A and have a job. If I apply for SMCK, and get R1, do I have to stop working? Another interesting question. Well, first, congratulations on knowing that N.5 plus K gets you R1. You are already leaps and bounds ahead of most of the world on understanding how to get to R1 if you know that, because most people don't. No, it should not stop you from working because you're getting it on a statutory level. I certainly wouldn't advertise that you're working, but you can have N.5 plus K and be able to work in some situations. Most people simply that have that level of disability cannot work, but there's no prohibition against it per se. So yeah, if you file for K and get R1, in most people, if you got SMC N.5, there's probably a K in there somewhere. So I would, if all you needed was a K, I'd probably do that. All right, I got time for a couple more maybe. Gypsy Doodles. How long are you seeing for BVA direct review claims? I wrote to VA in a statement in support of and waived 12 months to change lanes. Any other suggestions? Do I meet any of the hardships? Well, I don't know if you meet any of the hardships. I have no clue on that one. Probably nothing else you need to do unless you file for advancement on the docket. We're generally seeing them less than 12 months now. Most of them that I've seen recently were filed around, I say January, February. I think maybe a couple even in March. So, a bit less than 12 months, which is at this time last year, I would have said maybe a year and a half. So they are improving. Now, at some point, they're not going to be able to improve much further than that. If you meet the hardships, that depends. Homelessness is going to meet it. Serious financial hardship that you can document is going to meet it. Terminal illness is going to meet it. That type of thing. If you can, most people meet it under the financial hardship area, but you've got to be able to document it. And if you can, send that to the board with a request to advance your case on the docket, and they'll answer you in a few months. Oh, all right. Next one. Mr. Ray, TBI, DBQ not available to public. So what evidence besides evidence in service, current diagnosis, personal and buddy statement can be used as evidence? Thank you. Look, I don't think you need any more evidence than that. If you've got the diagnosis from a physician and the evidence in service of a head injury, just because you can't put that on a DBQ, okay, a DBQ is just a form of a way to submit evidence to VA. If you put the exact same information that's on a DBQ, on an exam, on a letter or anything else, it's still just as credible evidence in your record there. So to me, it sounds like you have everything you need. So I would go with it. Tiny condo living Chicago. Hill and Ponton won my TDIU in 2023, dating back to 2020. Oh, good. I'm glad we did. A recent diagnosis by the VA applies to my TDIU dating back to 2016. What should I do now to obtain a new TDIU starting date of 2016? All right, so that's a little difficult to answer without knowing the specific facts of your case. There's a chance, not to bust your burble here, but there's a chance you may not be able to get it back to 2016 based on new evidence, unless the effective date has remained on appeal. Because typically new evidence that was not there at the time in 2016 that comes in and, say your case is done. I'm assuming it's done. It may not be, but say it is, and you come in now, over a year later, try to give them new evidence. That by itself may not get you back to 2016. Uh, that's why it's important to have claims remain on appeal and stay open. Um, but don't take that as the word of God, that you can't get to 2016. Again, I'm going off just the facts that you're giving me there. So, and usually that's not enough to answer everything we need to. All right. That reaches the end of my time. So, good to be with you all by myself. My first one alone. So I don't know when I'll be back. Maybe next week or a couple of weeks. So hope everybody continues having a good week and a good December. Thank you.